Thanks for joining us this week on the Niners News Update. Today we are going to recap the Rams game and talk about the upcoming playoff matchup we got in against the Cowboys. First, just want to touch on a couple real quick pieces of information regarding the roster. The Niners would go ahead and activate running back Trey from the injured reserve list, so he will be available again after injuring his ankle earlier in the season. So he's expected to play against the Cowboys in the playoffs. Also, it was reported Trent Williams would not practice on Wednesday. However, Kyle had stated that he's feeling a lot better than he was on Sunday when he missed the Rams game, which, you never want to have the best left tackle in football out when you're
No.
facing the Rams. But luckily, we were able to survive that.
By the skin of your teeth, but
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, exactly. Trenton Cannon, who was, had that scary moment with the ambulance having to be taken to the hospital, is designated to return to practice. So that's a good sign. And then Elijah Mitchell didn't practice, but that's just because he's got an ongoing knee thing. It's probably more precautionary. Jimmy's was limited, and then Wishnowski, and we'll get more into that, but he's dealing with a concussion. So now in terms of the game. So the game ended up being a hell of a come from behind. The second
Yeah,
biggest
it was
yeah,
fucking frightening at one point. Like
the
that
second
score.
biggest comeback of all the biggest comeback all season was a game that the Ravens had like week 4 for 19 points. But this was 17 points, so this was the second biggest comeback all season long. So um, yeah, but it didn't start out well. So let's see here. The Rams started out with the ball, and after a penalty and 2 unsuccessful runs, they would face a 3rd and 12. But Stafford ends up finding Odell Beckham on an impressive catch for the first down, which would keep the Rams moving with possession. Um, we saw the return of Cam Akers, who was the Rams starting running back. I remember we talked about this in the preseason episode. He tore his Achilles back in July. He was expected to miss an entire year, and he was active and playing football in January. So pretty
Wow.
impressive, although he didn't really have much of an impact in the game. And get more into that in a little bit. But as far as like a production standpoint, it was good for him to get out there. And
Yeah.
I'm sure they wanted to have him ready for the playoffs, but he didn't really have much of a factor in this game against the Niners' stout run game. So the Niners would have the Rams facing another 3rd and 9, but Stafford would find Cooper Kupp deep for a gain of 46. So Cooper Kupp, who's just been literally going off.
Yeah.
He's going off of it, and I mean his fucking season that he's having is just incredible. I mean he just barely fell short of Calvin Johnson's single season receiving record, like just short, and he set an all-time Rams receiving record for their
Yeah, like we had
franchise.
mentioned, he possible dark horse MVP candidate with
Yeah,
the season he's having.
yeah,
Not
absolutely.
likely, but
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely gets some consideration just because I mean that like him and Debo just for what they're doing at the receiver
yeah.
position are really going off. Um, so the Rams managed to convert 3 third downs on this drive, but facing a 3rd and 6, we finally got to Stafford when Armstead would come up with a big sack to set up a 4th and 16. This would force the Rams to attempt a 43-yard Matt Gay field goal, which was good. But after a 15-play, 67-yard drive that took almost 9 minutes off the clock, you'd expect to come away with more. I mean, to only come away
Yeah.
with a field goal was actually a win for the Niners defense. But as we mentioned earlier, Trent Williams was out, missing only his 2nd game all season with the elbow. So Colton McKivitz started. You might think Jalen Moore, who had played a little bit of tackle earlier in the season, in place of McGlinchey. Tom Compton started really being the guy. But Colton McKivitz playing his first snaps of the season against the Rams, getting the start, and he held up admirably against the Rams. They've got a good pass rush
Yeah, it's
with
surprising that they would put somebody in like
with
that.
with Leonard Floyd. Yeah, a guy that hasn't played any snap. Like he played some last season, but he didn't play any snaps at all this season. So
Yeah.
in a game where the Niners had to win, going with young Colton McKivitz. So The Niners would end up starting backed up at their own 8, and 2 plays later, facing a 3rd and 4, Jimmy finds Trent Sherfield for a gain of 13 and a first down, which would be his 9th catch of the season. Always good to see him get a little bit involved more than just on special teams. And the drive would end up stalling out after 6 plays, and the Niners would end up punting. After a 3rd down throw to Hasty was deflected by Traven Howard. Like, he got his hand right in there. Like, the ball was right there towards Hasty. Maybe a little underthrown, but he got his hand in there for a nice deflection and broke it
Yeah.
up. And then on the following drive, the Rams would continue to look pretty good as they continued to move the ball down the field at relative ease. Stafford started 9 of 9 for 115 yards. And between that and the finish that he had against the Ravens in the 4th quarter last week, he actually had set a personal and a Rams record of 24 straight completions.
Wow.
Yeah. But on his eighth completion was a gain of 9 yards to Higbee. But what's notable about that would Higbee would limp off the field, but that was only for a couple plays. Dre Greenlaw, who was returning from injury and playing in just his 3rd game all season, would get flagged for a helmet-to-helmet hit on Van Jefferson, which would give the Rams a free 15 yards. Stafford would finally throw his first incompletion on a 2nd and 8, with the Rams facing a 4th and 1. Sean McVay, of course, would go for it, and on a nice play-action fake where the Niners totally bought the run, Stafford finds Higbee wide open in the back of the end zone to put the Rams ahead 10-0. So, like I said, Higbee was only out 2 or 3 plays, so good news for the Rams. He was able to get back in there. And and then on the first play of our second drive, Jimmy would go with a play action to Mitchell, but quickly come under pressure and had the ball knocked out of his hand for a forced fumble. Luckily, as we just mentioned, Tom Compton, who's been in there starting for McGlinchey and playing well, would recover the ball, although it would set up a 2nd and 24. So already behind the sticks, the ball just got knocked right out of Jimmy's hand. Who knows if part of that was attributed to the thumb, or maybe if it was just the fact that a big defensive lineman just smacked him right in the hand and he would have fumbled.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one. That one was like,
yeah.
Thank God he recovered it, though.
Yeah. And then Jimmy would end up taking a sack on the following play on the 3rd down with the Niners backed up. No, on 3rd down with us backed up, we'd try a run with Mitchell, but we'd lose a yard there too. So we lost yards on all 3 plays on that drive, and unfortunately would punt for the 2nd play of the game. Now, more notable about this, even than the fact that the Rams got a 31-yard return off of this, was the fact that Wishnowsky, while trying to make the tackle, would take a hard shot. And I know we mentioned he's got a concussion. So after just coming off the COVID list, poor Aussie Mitch Wishnowsky, welcome to America. They just lit the man up. And didn't know what the hell we were going to do because that was going to affect us not having a punter the rest of the game, but also in kicking because he also does our holding. So we'll get more into that for a little bit because he would not return in the game. So the return sets Stafford and company up nicely as he hits Higbee for the 2nd touchdown of the game. So obviously Higbee wasn't that injured, and the Rams go up 17-0 with 6:55 left in the 1st quarter. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. Sean McVay getting in the end zone, celebrating with his team. I don't know how in the goddamn world this wasn't a penalty. Take a look at it here on the screen, everybody.
Oh man, what a dick.
Nobody getting flagged. But I mean, I don't know if that lit the proverbial fire under the ass. But I mean, after that, the game changed.
Yeah, maybe he shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, So Jimmy would start the Niners' 3rd drive 3 for 3 with a big 3rd down completion to Juwan Jennings for only the Niners' 2nd first down to that point. And on the following play, Elijah Mitchell breaking his best run of the game so far for 13 yards. Next play, can't talk shit. On the next play, a promising drive came to an end after Jimmy would be hit as he threw, and the ball would be picked off by Taylor Rapp. Now, yeah, that was the first pick of the game that he would throw. There would be one more later in the game. We'll get into that a little bit later here as it comes up. But with 3:43 left in the half, the Rams take over, and they proceed to run most of the time off the clock. But facing a 3rd and 1 with 50 seconds left, this was a weird play call. You would expect them up 17-0 to just run out the clock with 50 seconds left.
Right.
But Stafford drops back. Now, that can be a good thing, or against the Niners pass rush, it can be a very bad thing. And Bosa and Armstead would get back there and split a sack, which after 2 games of being quiet, I'm going to put it up on the screen, the Nick Bosa sack counter is back at 15.5 for the season. So he's still currently 4.5 off the Niners all-time season record, so unfortunately he wasn't going to get that. But still a really good season.
Yeah, still a great season.
Still a great season. Good enough to finish top 5 all-time in Niners history, for sure. So the Niners would take over with 38 seconds. And on the first play of the drive, Jimmy would thread the ball between 2 Rams players on to Ayuk for a gain of 19. And then he would set up throw to Hasty, which would get the Niners to midfield. And then they would have to take their final timeout with 20 seconds. So we're going to talk about Jimmy in the final couple minutes of the second half as well. But something about him, and I know we've mentioned this before, but in the final 2 minutes of games, he plays his best football sometimes, man. Like, he is just dialed in. I mean,
yeah.
Jimmy on the 2-minute drive is better than Jimmy the entire, 58 minutes of the game prior to that. So Jimmy ends up finding Ayuk for the second time on the drive, this time for 26 yards. So we're in range. Jimmy gets us up to the line, spikes the ball with 3 seconds left. And what are we going to do, bud? We don't have Wisnowski, who's going to hold for the field goal attempt. Well, we got a guy that can do a lot of shit. Got a guy that's got a name that's very hard to say. It's got a lot of letters in it that are very strange.
He did a good job. I mean, he did the job.
Mr. Kyle Juszczyk got the ball down. Good snap, good hold. Got the laces out, and with Wisnowski injured, Robbie would drill the 42-yard field goal, which was perfect to cut the lead to 17-3 at the half. So we needed to get on the board and get something. We got the ball coming out of the second half, so it was crucial to get something there.
Yeah.
And it was concerning because coming into this game, McVay had some record where he was like 45-0 when leading at the half all time since he's been the Rams head coach. So you're like, okay, well, Jesus.
Well, that's not good.
But then you've also got Kyle Shanahan, who's like 5-0 the last 5 times he's played McVay. So something had to give here. It's like McVay's undefeated streak at the half versus Kyle's 5-0 streak recently, and Jimmy also being 5-0 against the Rams since being the Niners quarterback, which was a very interesting record because the Rams are a very good defense. Yeah. Jimmy's not that mobile, so you would expect him to struggle, but Jimmy, very good against, he struggles against the Seahawks, though, I will say. Anyway, Jimmy at the half, 9 out of 12, 90 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. Stafford, a very impressive 15-16, 153 through the air, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Niners would start the second half with the ball, like we mentioned, facing an early 3rd and 3. Jimmy gets blasted by Aaron Donald as he releases the ball, but he finds Hasty in the flat to pick up a first down. So then, right after that, Jimmy hits a wide open Brandon Ayuk for a gain of 31. Then on the 3rd and 2, the Niners run what I like to refer to as our Debo special. Where we line him up in the backfield and send Hasty in motion as a wide receiver. So Hasty goes out like he's a wide receiver, our running back. So you're like, okay, what the hell's going on? So Debo takes the ball and scores on a 16-yard rushing touchdown to make the game 17-10. As we mentioned a little bit earlier, the Rams weren't able to get a damn thing going on the run. Leading rusher coming in, Sony Michel, had 21 carries for 43 yards. Cam Akers, as we mentioned, playing his first football, 5 rushes for 3 yards. He also had 3 catches for 10 yards. So obviously, as they try to ease him back in, um, not a real productive game. But it's hard to run the ball against the Niners front. We always defend the run real well. Um,
Yeah.
through the ground. And after 2 runs for a total of 3 yards, the Niners would blitz on a 3rd and 7 and almost get to Stafford, but the pressure by Dre Greenlaw caused an incompletion, and that would force the Rams to punt after a 3 and out on their first possession of the second half. So at that point, they were only up 7. The Niners come out on their next drive with 10 straight running plays. Does that sound familiar? Almost like what we did with that 18-play drive against them in the first Rams game. Remember that long opening drive
Yeah.
that was the season
Yeah.
long with all those run plays?
Like
So
11 minutes or
yeah.
something.
So after 10 straight run plays, it's almost like that Rex Burkhead strategy. It's like, but then we mix it up and then we line Debo up in the backfield. He takes the handoff and then he ends up rolling out to the right and finds a wide open Juwan Jennings for a touchdown for Debo. I mean, he's done everything else.
He's literally done everything after that. That was so cool to see that.
You might as well give him, to go with his 8 rushing touchdowns, his 6 receiving touchdowns, now 1 passing touchdown.
He's got it all.
Yeah, he really is like the gadget player that can do everything. I mean, he's the all everything. He's like a video game guy. And then so the extra point ties the game 17-17 with 1:46 to go in the third quarter. And basically, a 14-point lead evaporates within the course of a quarter for the Rams. So on the first play of the Rams' following drive, DJ Jones getting back there. We talk about DJ Jones a lot for his disruptive play. He's usually making a big play in the backfield or tipping a ball. But he actually got back there for his 2nd sack of the season. Interior defensive linemen, unless you're Aaron Donald, don't get huge numbers of sacks. But it's really good to see him go back there and get that sack. I'm sure DJ Jones is going to earn himself a little bit of a payday this offseason. So that was a loss of 7. The second down throw was incomplete, and on a 3rd and 17, Stafford would throw deep, but it would be picked off by another returning player that we got back after 4 games, Emmanuel Mosley. So we definitely needed him, and he got a nice little return of 23 yards, but after review it was ruled that he was down, although we'd still get the ball. Also notable when it comes to the cornerback position, Josh Norman, after getting benched last week against Houston, only playing special teams in this game. He was active, but it was Ambry Thomas and Emmanuel Mosley getting the start, and since K'Wan Williams was out at our nickel, he's our usual nickel guy, it was Dante Johnson playing the nickel. So interesting that Josh Norman was a healthy scratch, and I guess Kyle's just finally tired of all the PI calls.
Probably. I mean, geez.
Although he hasn't been the only one to get called for him, but he's definitely been the predominant culprit.
He's probably got the most, yeah.
I would say so. However, they couldn't take advantage, and they'd go 3 and out of this opportunity. The Niners couldn't go down and get another touchdown. So we'd send out Robbie for his first punt of the day, and this would actually be at the start of the fourth quarter. Robbie's first punt would go 47 yards after a nice little roll and stop at the 18-yard line. So his first punt of the season, going inside the 20, getting credit for a punt inside 20. So
solid punt. Can't complain.
Good punts by Robbie. Good holds by Juszczyk. Guys stepping up when they needed to. Next man up. You love to see that in a game that you have to have. So after a great first half where he had 1 incompletion, Stafford started the second half 0 for 5, and that pick we mentioned. Bosa almost got another sack, but Stafford would throw the ball away with, while he was in Bosa's arms. I mean, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I think they should have blown the whistle there and given Bosa the sack. But the Rams would pick up a 24 yards on a completion to Van Jefferson and pick up their first down of the second half. But the drive would stall after Fred Warner and Arden Key would split a sack, and the Niners, that was their 4th sack of the day. So we got good pressure on Stafford all day long. There was a meme that I saw that showed, like, all the Rams gave up all this to beat this, and then it shows like Von Miller, Odell, and like Stafford, because they gave up all those first and the third pick to get
Hmm.
Stafford, and then it just shows Jimmy. It's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I see
yeah, yeah.
that.
And Jimmy, now is 6-0 against the damn Rams. Something about it, you don't have to think Jimmy is the best quarterback in the league because let's face it, he's not. But something about that man is magic against that Rams team. So
Yeah.
yards down the field on their next drive into the red zone. However, when targeting Kittle, the pass would be tipped into the air and picked off by Jalen Ramsey. Um, on a really nice play by Ramsey, it was tipped by Ramsey, and Ramsey made a diving catch in the end zone.
Yeah, that
Uh,
one was really nice.
but then
That
he ran it
was
out to
oof.
the 8 like an idiot. I don't know why he would have done that, taking the touchback.
I know, right?
But yeah, so that was Jimmy's second pick of the game. Now, what wasn't mentioned was Jimmy took a shot in the head on that play that was never called by the referee, which obviously probably played a factor in him throwing the interception. Um, Now the Rams take over in a tie game 17-17 with 7:48 to play, facing a 3rd and 6 with Jimmy Ward in man coverage. Stafford and Jimmy Ward's our best man coverage guy. The Niners mostly play zone defense almost all the time, but if we have to have a man coverage guy, Jimmy Jimmy Ward's our best. So Stafford still connects with Cooper Kupp because he's ridiculous for a gain of 30. The Rams end up taking 5:13 off the clock of that 7:48. They killed a lot of clock and end up taking a lead on a 4-yard touchdown pass to who else? Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Cup once
Yeah.
again, of course.
So the Rams going ahead 24-17 with 2:29 to go. Now the Niners end up having to punt after taking a third down after Jimmy took a third down sack by Von Miller. So Von Miller, one of those big guys they traded for. So that paying some dividends. Although the Rams really didn't get much pressure all game. I feel like that might have been their only sack. No, actually, I'm sorry. They had 3 sacks, but we had 5. So we actually outproduced them.
That's a lot of sacks. I mean, yeah, 5 sacks in a game is
Yeah,
solid.
yeah, for sure. So with that, Jimmy taking the third down sack, it would force Robbie out for the second time. Now we were backed up, so we needed a good punt, and Robbie would drill a 42-yarder to force a Rams fair catch on at least their side of the 50. So that was huge. That was huge to at least not have them get another big return.
Yeah.
So the Rams would run 3 straight plays, and the Niners would use their 3 timeouts and forced another Rams punt. So San Francisco's taken over from their own 12, backed up with 1:27 left on the clock and no timeouts, and the playoffs on the line. But what did I say earlier? What is Jimmy at his best when there's 2 minutes or left, 2 minutes or less on the clock?
It's like he learned that from Tom Brady.
That's what I was gonna say. Like I didn't want to say it, but I kind of wanted to say it. It's almost like that one factor he got from the GOAT, watching Tom Brady from the sidelines for 3 seasons. So the drive starts off great. 21-yard completion to Ayuk. He would complete the next pass to Jennings for 5 yards, so not much on that one, but still a positive play. One play later, Jimmy avoids a sack, extends the play, and throws a nice ball to a nice ball around a leaping Jalen Ramsey, who was going for another pick, and finds Debo for a gain of 43. It was a really nice throw by Jimmy. It was like probably his best throw all game. So that 43-yard catch and run takes the ball inside the red zone. Jimmy ends up spiking the clock with 34 seconds left. Keep in mind we don't have any timeouts. We get a bonus 5 yards when the Rams get called for an offside, which would move us down to the Rams 14. Jimmy's next pass was a little bit high to Debo in the end zone with 31 seconds left. And then on the following play, running out of time there, Jimmy would throw a 14-yard touchdown pass to Juwan Jennings, his 2nd touchdown catch of the game and his 5th of the season. And we're always talking about Jennings.
Yeah, Juwan Jennings has been going off lately. He's going to be back for sure next season.
Yeah. I mean, he's still only in the 2nd year of his 4-year rookie deal, so we've still got him for a minimum 2 more years. He's going to be a Niner for a while, and I mean, I would re-sign that young man immediately. because as soon as you can, go ahead and get him a new contract. So at that point, we need the extra point, the all important extra point. Obviously,
Yeah.
Juice in there holding, and he's perfect with it. We tie the game up
Nice.
24-24. So with 26 seconds left in regulation, in 2 timeouts, the Rams get a final chance to win it in regulation. So with 21 seconds to play, Eric Armstead gets back there for his first sack of the day. Or I'm sorry, Eric Armstead would get back there on what was his best game of the year, and he would get that would be the Niners, as we mentioned, 5th sack of the season. Armstead though went off. Armstead came in with 2.5 sacks, and he had 2.5 sacks in this game alone. So
wow.
he matched what he had all season in this game. So with in a game where you really had to have it, a lot of players definitely stepped up, and that was huge. It was great to see the whole team when we really needed to win. And as you could tell, because I'm sure they were watching the scoreboard of the Falcons game, and as they could see that the Falcons weren't going to beat the Saints, they're like, okay, well, we really need to handle business here. So Armstead gets the sack, and at that point, the Rams just decide to, let the clock run out and go to OT. So we thank God we got the overtime, coin toss in our favor. We got heads, and we start with the ball. First play of the drive, Jimmy throws it a little bit behind Debo. Was just a little bit behind him, just barely missed. On the next play, though, we would pick up 13 on a run for a first down on a play where Kittle made an exceptional block. A lot of players really stepping up big, as we mentioned. On a 3rd and 6, Jimmy would find, guess who? Juwan Jennings.
Juwan Jennings,
34
once again.
yards to take the ball down into Niners field goal range. Now, Juwan Jennings would end up converting another 3rd and 3, and I'll give you his final numbers in a second, but that keeps the Niners in possession. So, as you know, the overtime period is 10 minutes long. So the Niners ended up running over 7 minutes off the overtime period clock, and end up settling for a 24-yard Robbie Gould field goal with 2:45 left to play, and the Rams having to use their 2 timeouts that they got in overtime. So at that point, we're ahead 27-24. Now, you would love to have gotten a touchdown there, but obviously you've got to take the points. A touchdown would have obviously sealed the game. It. But as per NFL, overtime rules, which I love a lot less when it's my team, in the overtime. But the Rams would get the opportunity, and I'll just like I said, I was going to give you his numbers. Juwan Jennings, 6 catches, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he had a career best game, and let me just go over this real quick. Okay, so the Rams had their chance to answer. Stafford would throw incomplete passes on 1st and 2nd down. So after really having 1 incomplete pass the entire first quarter, Stafford unraveled. And on a 3rd down, however, Emmanuel Moseley would be called for defensive pass interference. And that would be our 20th of the season. So even with, like I said, even with Josh Norman not in there, we still get called for him. Although that was our first in the game late in the 4th quarter. So with Stafford looking for Cooper Kupp, that would have been a first down if they would have obviously picked it up. So the clock goes down to the 2-minute warning, and the Rams are driving. And first play after the warning, Stafford takes a shot deep for Odell. And he was trying to pick on Ambry Thomas. We always talk about poor Ambry getting burned, and he's out there, he's learning, he's growing every week. And this was really his I think coming out party and his moment,
Absolutely.
So, ball was a little bit underthrown. He made a perfect play on it and ended up making the game-sealing interception, which would give the Niners the 27-24 win and get us into the playoffs, where we will have to now defeat the #1 offense in the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys, which is going to be a hell of a game. I'm looking forward to it. A little bit nervous because obviously the Cowboys present so many challenges. Although their run game hasn't been so much, I'm more concerned about their ability to take advantage of us through the air.
That's exactly.
With our secondary.
and Michael Gallup, and I mean Ezekiel Elliott, he's a good running back too. I mean, they might get something on the ground too, but the Niners are good at defending the run.
Yeah, I imagine Dak's probably going to take a couple shots deep for Gallup or CeeDee Lamb or Amari Cooper, probably trying to get a DPI call or two since we have 20 of them on the damn season. But yeah, just to go through the final Niners numbers for that game. Jimmy, after a slow and rough start, finishing the game admirably. Jimmy, gutsy as hell. Like, if you're going to give somebody the game ball, his last 2 drives of that game, 8 out of 9, with 1 touchdown, no picks. So, like, when the game mattered, like I said, Jimmy was on it. But his final numbers, 23 of 32, 316 yards, his 5th 300-yard game of the season. 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Elijah Mitchell, leading rusher, 21 carries, 85 yards. Debo had 8 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. Ayuk was our leading receiver with his first 100-yard game of the season. He had 6 catches for 107 yards. Debo had 95 on 4 catches to go with his 45 on the ground and rushing touchdowns, so that's about 150 total. Juwan Jennings, as we mentioned, 6 catches, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is the disappointing one. Kittle only 5 catches for 10 yards. I saw how they were throwing to him. It was a lot of screens and stuff where he was getting tackled for a loss or not much. But that's
always sad to see.
Yeah. So Kittle, who came in needing 100 yards to get to 1,000, obviously finishing the regular season with 910 receiving yards. He did miss 3 regular season games. You like to think that if he didn't miss those, he would have for sure.
He would have for sure. That's not even a question.
Yeah, absolutely. At the pace he was going, Debo finishing obviously well over 1,000 yards on the season. His final numbers here: 1,405 receiving yards on 77 catches, 6 receiving touchdowns, 59 carries for 365 rushing yards, a 6.2 yard carry per carry average, and 8 rushing touchdowns, also 1 24-yard passing touchdown. And Jimmy on the season had over 3,000 yards as well, 20 touchdowns, 12 picks, which is funny because Heineke also had 20 touchdowns and 15 picks. So both of them finishing with 20 touchdowns.
Interesting.
Yeah, Jimmy had 3,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 picks. So on 15 starts. So mostly healthy season. He only missed the 2 games. And then the other thing I was just going to mention was Elijah Mitchell. Disappointing. If he would have played in any more games, just even one more game, he finished the season with 963 receiving yards. I'm sorry, 963 rushing yards. So 37 short of 1,000. So that would have given us what you guys had. And shockingly, he would have been the first running back to finish in under Kyle Shanahan with 1,000 yards, which sounds shocking. You'd be surprised by that. But normally we just feed so many different backs. It's like last year, Jeff Wilson led the team with 600 yards. But, we give a little to Raheem. We give a little to Jeff Wilson. Some was going to Tevin Coleman. But, yeah, Elijah Mitchell had a shot at the first 1,000-yard season, and unfortunately coming up just short. So we could have done what the Skins had if we could have picked up, like I said, one more game. He only played in 11 games, so he missed 6 due to injury. So maybe next year. But we've got a promising young player in him. So
yeah, definitely.
Hoping he runs for like 200 yards on that Dallas D, and Micah Parsons doesn't kill us too much.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Dallas
we'll definitely cover that game.
# Dallas one and done.
Hopefully. Absolutely, one and done.
Yeah, join us next week as we will recap all the playoff games, but especially the Niners and the Cowboys wildcard weekend playoff game. So join us next week. Go Niners. Let's get that done.
Definitely. Hell yeah.